Hi, I'm Liz with Toth Properties powered by EXP Realty. I'm a residential real estate agent in Raleigh, North Carolina. And today's buyer tip is all about offer strategies that work. In the market today in the Triangle, we do still see homes get multiple offers. If it's priced right, it looks good, it's marketed properly, and especially if it's in certain parts of the Triangle, homes can sell very quickly and get multiple offers. We don't see the same amount of offers we used to when rates were 2 and 3%, but a home can get 2 or 3 offers when it first goes on the market. So there is competition out there, and you as a buyer, if you're shopping today, have to be prepared. So part of my process is when I first meet a buyer, we usually do a buyer consultation over a cup of coffee or tea and talk about the process. So what all is involved in purchasing a home? How does this work, basically? I also like to learn everything that I can that's important to that buyer. So what do they want in a home and a community? So that I can start narrowing down areas, communities, homes, things like that, so that I know what to look for, basically. Part of this process as well is connecting that buyer to the local lender that I work with. And I always recommend this, the very first step you have to take is get pre-approved for a mortgage if you're getting a loan. It's going to do 2 things. So one, it's going to show a seller you're serious, because getting a pre-approval is so much more involved than just a pre-qualification. You have to submit all of your documentation up front. So your tax returns, statements, all of that stuff up front. You go through an automated underwriting system, and it's much, much more involved than just a pre-qualification letter. So you're showing the seller you're serious. You took all this time. You were ready to buy a home. But 2, it also shows you how much you can afford, and it'll help you really narrow down your price point. So that's really step number 1 before you even start looking at homes, because if you do find the right home, we would need that pre-approval letter, and we have to submit that with any offer that you make. So if you don't have that letter, you're not prepared, a home gets multiple offers, there's a deadline, you could potentially miss out. So you really have to have that letter and that process done before you start looking at homes. So once you have that letter in place, though, and you find the right home, the first thing that I usually do is call the list agent, and I let them know that, hey, I have someone who is potentially interested in making an offer on this home. And then I try to learn as much as I can about what is important to the seller. And obviously, price and due diligence are going to be important, and we'll talk about that next. But there might be other things, like maybe they have a certain closing date in mind, or maybe they want to stay in the home a couple of days after close, and move out and things like that. So I always try to learn all of those things, anything that might be unique that could help my clients that I work with, that might help give them an edge over other buyers. So for example, if a seller does want to stay in the home for 3 days after close, I recommend to buyers that, hey, if you can swing it and you can give that seller that, I recommend doing it, because not every buyer out there can do that. And if you give them that, that could make your offer better than everybody else. So it's learning those types of things. That's a part of the process as well. And then obviously the next steps are, when we learn what's important, then we sit down, we want to write an offer. We're going to look at 2 things, we're going to look at the whole offer, but there are 2 things that are always really important to a seller. 1 is price, 2 is the due diligence fee. So obviously, if there are multiple offers on a home, I recommend going over list price. I do a lot of analysis of sales and comps in the area so that I have a good understanding, and so that I can make a recommendation to clients, because we also want to make sure that the property appraises. So, you want to go over list price, but you also want to make sure it appraises. Now, I have had some buyers that I've worked with that said, I'm okay if it doesn't appraise, and I'm fine paying the difference. So let's go over list price. And if that's the case, then I recommend adding an appraisal addendum. And then that addendum, you're saying, hey, I'm going to pay $10,000 over the list price. If the property doesn't appraise, the buyer, will make up the difference. So if the property appraises for $5,000 less than the purchase price, the buyer will pay that $5,000 at close. So if you want to do that, that's definitely an option. It's something that can make your offer more competitive. The other thing is the due diligence fee. This is also important to sellers because it is a non-refundable deposit that is paid directly to sellers, and it is due at time of contract. So once that seller agrees, they sign that offer, the due diligence fee is now owed to that seller. And I'm usually coordinating with the buyers to either pick up a check and get it delivered, or they're wiring that due diligence fee to an attorney who will give it to the seller, or they're wiring the fee directly to the seller. So that is a fee that's non-refundable. It's paid to the seller. What you're paying for is you're paying for the seller to take the home off the market, let you do all of your inspections, and then you have the right to back out for any or no reason at all and get your earnest money deposit back, which is another deposit that you pay at time of contract or within 5 days of contract. And that is paid to a real estate attorney. So if you offer a $10,000 due diligence fee to the seller and you offer a $5,000 earnest money deposit, if you terminate that contract, you're going to lose that $10,000, but you'll get your $5,000 back. If you get to close, both those fees come to you and they get credited to you at close. So you would get a credit for the due diligence, that $10,000, you'd get a credit for the $5,000. If there's multiple offers, I recommend increasing that due diligence fee so that you can show a seller, number one, I'm very serious about purchasing your home. And two, it's unlikely that I'm going to back out and walk away from $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000, whatever you decide that dollar amount is. So that's another thing. Finally, if there's multiple offers, I always recommend, obviously, bring your highest and best. You may not get another chance. Put your best foot forward. Write the best offer that you can. Keep it clean. Keep it simple. Don't ask for a lot of things like closing costs to be paid by the seller. Don't ask for a bunch of personal property. Keep the offer as clean, as simple as possible. Make it easy for the seller to accept your offer. Hopefully that information is helpful for you. If you have questions about purchasing a home in the Triangle, don't hesitate to reach out. If you're thinking about relocating in the Raleigh area or moving here from another state, check out my YouTube channel, Welcome to Raleigh. There's a lot of great videos on there. There's city tours, community tours. There's more buyer tips and information on the real estate market. I look forward to talking to you soon, and I hope you have a great day.